We know that we have to get done on time, which we don't want to get to July and have a government shutdown. There are some very passionate things that both sides are fighting for, and we are still fighting for those things. The education savings account, what we did today, is still on the table. That is not off the table, which is a big issue that we think is transformational, and we're only asking for a little piece. But some of those are a struggle. One question was about the spreadsheets. We want to try to get those out so that people can see them. We're also talking about is there a benefit of doing public offers back and forth? So there very well may be some of those, not everyone. So some of the other groups may, or some of the other committees may not want to do that. But we're trying to have a fair amount of flexibility with the conference committees or working groups to make sure that they have some flexibility how they want to do it. But both the Speaker and I are open to anything that will drive them to a successful finish.
Don't you guys normally say public offers don't work?
Well, public offers sometimes don't work because it can reflect a breakdown that there's an impasse. And that, in fact, that is what we talked about. If a public offer could actually move them to a better place, then maybe it's worth doing. For example, if one side gives an offer that the public would say, well, why wouldn't we do that? Then it might be worth doing as a public offer just to move the other side.
So is it safe to say that in the last week we've gotten basically nowhere?
No. The question was that have we gotten anywhere in the last week? The fact is the chairs of each of the committees that are now working groups have done a lot of work. There are a number of bills that are already wrapped up, and then there's some others that we had to get them on the same page. It's extremely difficult when you have we're the only divided legislature in the whole country, and yet we've got to figure out how to do it. The hope I have is that we did it 2 years ago. We did this 2 years ago, and not much has changed since then. And so that's what gives me the confidence that we will get it done again. But this is not an easy process. I will say, and I've said this before, the Speaker and myself, we talk to each other, not over each other. That is what we're trying to do with our chairs, to make sure that they're talking to each other. Sometimes they don't, and then we have to try to help them. But it's a difficult process, but we are making progress.
Wait, you've wrapped up a couple of bills within the past week that weren't wrapped up before this week?
I'm just saying there's a number of bills that are wrapped up. I don't know whether it was 2 weeks ago or last week. But I virtually every budget bill I see moving forward. As we get farther down the road, those things that are maybe we understand that they will be a total impasse, then we have to figure out how to let them go on either side.
Can you talk about where those sticking points are in the budgets, pieces that are not yet finished?
Well, I'll just give you one. HHS is an extremely complex budget with many moving parts and many pots of federal money that keeps coming into it, and we're just trying to figure out how to navigate it. But I also believe that the two chairs, or actually on our side we have a number of chairs, and they have been working together. It's just very, very complex. So that would be an example.
There is not an issue that you can think of that the Senate will force a government shutdown if you do not get it.
The Senate has no issues that we would demand a shutdown to get. My concern is that the governor needs to work with the House to make sure they don't have any issues that they would shut down the government over. That's the governor's responsibility to engage them. Just one example, we had to pass 4 police funding bills to actually get funding for the police related to the potential riots that may have come this year. It took 4 times, the Senate passed it, and it could not get through the House. And so that's where the governor has to engage. It's not just the House and Senate. The governor must engage the House to get to the right place.
Are they telling your chairs that they would be willing to shut down the government over police funding?
I do not know that. I'm simply saying that we're not going to. We think that would be harmful to the state, but that doesn't mean that we're not working on the things that we care about. We think virtually every state has curtailed emergency powers. We said yesterday, where's the emergency? Nobody here has a mask. why do we still have emergency powers? So that's one of the things that we think is important for Minnesota to end. That would be an example. The California emission standards, the air and car standards, we think that we should have a 2-year moratorium. So there's a number of things that we're fighting for that we think are important. So are they. But in the end, I think it would be detrimental to Minnesota to let the whole state shut down.
From where we stand right now, what's the ideal timeline?
So the governor has to call us back on June 14th because he has said he's going to keep emergency powers at least to that time frame. My hope is that maybe someday the House will also say it's time to end emergency powers. That would end it. The House and Senate have to agree to end it. The Senate has already at least 8 times said we need to end emergency powers. If the House says it at the same time, then emergency powers are over, and then we just go to the finish line until we get done. So we could finish June 14th if everything is agreed and the House and Senate minorities also agree. School choice just got blown away. But anyway, so June 14th would be the earliest date, and then all the way up to July 1 or somewhere in there.
Can you talk about your meeting with the governor this afternoon? Are you having a meeting with him and the families against?
With the governor? Yeah. Most of the meetings with the governor, not all of them, have been via Zoom. We have had a couple of meetings in person, and they're productive. I think it's the more we do those, the better we understand each other, so that we can try to navigate through those remaining issues that are just that there's an impasse. So, but they've been productive.
I think he was asking about the meeting you're going to have with
I'm
the
sorry.
families.
That's why. Yeah, I would. Yeah, sorry about that. So the governor asked me if I would meet with some of the families that lost loved ones in police-related, or at least either they say they're related or they may be related, one way or the other. And so I agreed to have a conversation with them. I've had a couple of conversations last year with some of these groups. This one is in person, and so that's going to happen this afternoon.
With what you know now, do you think it's likely that the special session goes all the way or very close to the end of June?
I think all sides want to try to get done earlier than later, but then we have to just navigate through those more difficult issues, which sometimes make it go later. My guess is that we would finish earlier, mid-June, but that I'm not the only one that makes that decision, so we'll see.
When it comes to...
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Would you like to set a date at which you start taking sort of DFL or Republican priorities off the table, sort of one for another?
The question is, am I going to set a date when we take things off the table? No, but I will tell you we've had conversations in the last 2 days by area where the thorny issues are, so we're aware of what the issues are at the leadership level.
Regarding your conversation with families today and police brutality and that whole topic, you've said a number of times that there are certain things that the Democrats want that you see as anti-police.
Yeah.
They're sort of the lowest hanging fruit for you to oppose because they're anti-police in your mind.
Yeah.
Can you go over some of those that you believe are still alive and maybe how you will respond to the families if they push for those?
The question is, when I respond to what issues would I be open to for police reforms, I don't want to give the specific ones. I will say that we made an offer that had multiple police reform issues in it to the House. So there are provisions that we have offered, and we need to know if they're supportive of that. But I don't want to give the specifics.
Well, I actually was asking for specifics that you say are anti-police.
No.
In other words, the ones that you dislike the most because you believe they're anti-police.
Yeah, the two of them in particular that stand out to me. One is I don't think citizens should be over the board. They even, I believe, had felons on that group that would be over the police. The police, I think, should run the police board, run the police organizations, just like lawyers do theirs, accountants do theirs, etc. And so I think if you have citizens over that, they don't necessarily make the right decisions. We do have a citizen board that's within the post board that can give advice. I think that's the way it should be. We don't think that we should change qualified immunity. That is where a police officer, the way they want to change it, they have to buy their own liability insurance, which is very expensive, even if they can get it. And the fact is, they don't make a lot of money. And so right now, the cities are responsible. If there's a lawsuit, I think it works best. So that would be a couple examples that I would bring up.
I got one more before we piece of shit. Are we going to see full bills come out tomorrow?
She said, are we going to see full bills out tomorrow? I don't know yet. How's that? All right. Well, thank you guys. Enjoy the day. It's pretty awesome.
Perfect timing. See, that's why we weren't outside yesterday.
Yeah.
That's exactly why we weren't outside
Have you
yesterday.
guys gotten to the point where the three of you have passed judgment on spreadsheets? Are you going to do that? Have them in front of you and say, yeah, this is good for me.
Well, we already agreed on the targets. I mean, that was the key number. That every budget cycle you have to agree on the targets. The last 2 times we agreed on targets, within about 5 days we finished with all of the rest of the work. So this one, there's just been a lot more work by the chairs and some of their leaders. So we're, I want the process to work as far as the legislators doing the work, not just the leaders. And so I don't know of anything that I would not sign off on if the leader of the House and Senate of that budget agreed to something. So I think they know their area of expertise better than I do.
But is that a formal thing that has to happen? Do the three of you have to give a thumbs up to each of those spreadsheets and each of those languages?
Well, we haven't talked about it in that capacity. I do think there may be some things that the House and Senate agree to that we send to the governor that he may not completely agree with. But the point is we're having conversations because our goal is to get these budgets passed, which means the governor has to have, the input to sign off on that. We're not expecting vetoes, but there may be something in any of the bills that all three of us, maybe one of us, maybe not supportive, but it's going to get done anyway. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.